Alright, Minecrafters, Minecraft Bob Ross here. I want to show you how to solve a little problem that will occur from time to time. It's not so much maybe solving a problem, but it does make life more convenient. The problem, if you will, is that a lot of grinders and farms and such will put out more than one kind of block. For example, right here, I have my wheat farm, right? And it's pretty much, it's almost automatic. You hit a button, it hit harvest, and that works fine. The bees make it go faster. Works great. Everything is funneled down to two central hoppers by water, and the water washes out here from these dispensers, pushes it down. The problem is you get two different items output here. You get wheat and you get seed, both of which are very valuable, and a lot of which will get produced. So at a time, this baby will probably put out per harvest, gosh, 16 stacks or more. About I guess about 20 stacks, about 10 stacks of each. It's a lot. What I've been doing is just manually taking out the wheat and just putting it in hay bales and keeping them separate myself. Well, you don't always want to do that. Wouldn't it be better if we had a system that could just sort these out for us? Well, my friends, we do have such a system, and I'm going to show you how to make one. First, let's take a look at one that I've already made. We'll go this way to get to it. I'm pretty proud of this little guy. Actually, before we look at it, let me show you what it's connected to. This is my sheep farm, my wool farm, if you will. And in my most recent video, in fact, I walked you through how to build one of these, and you've probably seen this before if you're one of my subscribers. So this baby is putting out a lot of wool, and a lot of different kinds of wool. All 16 colors are here. So I want to separate all of that out. I don't want to have to go through and if I'm looking for some red wool to make some carpet, I don't want to have to go through cyan wool and purple wool and black wool and all that other stuff to find the red wool pieces that I'm looking for, especially if I'm working on a very big project. Well, my friends, this is an item sorter. Now, what I've built here is sort of a super item sorter because I'm dealing with 16 different stack types, 16 different item types. Of course, there are 16 colors of wool, plus always an extra chest for miscellaneous. What that's for is if I'm maybe digging up above and a piece of dirt falls into one of the hoppers, all of that extra stuff goes here to the end and doesn't mess with these other sorters. We can get into that in a moment. So, anyway, I'm going to walk you through how to build this on a smaller scale for our wheat farm, right? But for now, just to show you, the reason this is 3 chests high is because a lot of this is just for extra storage. The core sorting system is what you sort of see there up above. I'll show you the back view of it. This is what a sorting system looks like, kind of in the behind the scenes view. It uses hoppers, comparators, and other redstone components to limit the flow and restrict the flow of different items for each chest set, so that this chest will only receive white wool, while This chest only receives light gray wool and can speak today, and so on and so forth right down the line. Now, this obviously makes life a lot easier here, and it was worth the investment. Now, let's go build a simpler, faster model of the same thing here for these two item types. So what I'm going to do first, and I left this on purpose so you can see this in the video, so you can see sort of what you might do. Right now what we have, the old system, pretty good system, is we have two different hopper sets actually. I showed you up above where those collect down the bottom of that water ditch, right, or that water canal. And these actually stay separate and feed into two separate chests, right, one on each side. And that way the flow, the labor's kind of broken up between two parts. It's distributed. But it doesn't self-organize. So what I want to do is I actually want to break this whole thing down until I get up there, just to the main pipeline, what we might call the hopper pipe or hopper pipeline. So I'm just going to go through and break all of this down. Okay, I'm just going to rip all of it out. I've already emptied the contents of these chests. Oh, I accidentally tossed my axe there. Just keep breaking away. It's easy to do. We might even use some of this, but I brought everything we need pretty much. My vault is right around the corner. Makes sense, of course, right? So I'm just going to break the entire old system out. Change the flooring later. That's just aesthetic. Okay. Alright. So here's what we're dealing with. I'm kind of thinking that I want these chests to actually be facing this way. The opposite. And we're sort of facing, I don't know, east-west here. I actually want them facing north-south. So that when you come down the stairs right here, you're looking at those chests pretty much right here. So the first thing I need to do is make my hopper pipeline go around to get it into the position that I need. Now it's actually important to take note that when you do this, your pipeline needs to all enter from one side of the sorter, so that everything that passes through the system passes through one end of the sorter to the other end of the sorter. Now, I'll just show you what I mean as we work if that's not very clear. I know the description probably isn't. Let's see. Alright, so I'm just going to make some makeshift stairs just to get up there and work with it. I got plenty of scaffolding, but I'm still sort of old school like that. One thing that I want to go ahead and do is I'm going to make one of these hoppers feed into the other. I'm going to go ahead and rip both of these out actually, for now. And let's see, how about this? Let's go. Yeah, let's feed. Oh, wrong way. Let's feed that way. So the whole thing feeds through that hopper. Now we have our pipeline started. I'm actually thinking about bringing this down a step. But then again, I think I might use this whole vertical space for extra storage, a bit like what we saw in the wool farm. Okay. Anyway, let's see what we got here. The first thing I want to do is turn this corner. Hoppers, as you probably know, always will feed into the direction of the block that you place them against. So I'm placing them against this surface, facing towards us with that dirt block. So that means it'll feed that way. That will eventually be another hopper. I'm just directing it to where I want it to go. Easy enough, right? Here, let's go all out. Let's just go straight into that wall and put an extra one, no problem. Now we can get rid of this dirt here. Keep it clean as we can. I would be willing to build this in creative, but need this only in survival, really, unless you were just building it for its own sake. So here we go. We got our pipeline started. What I want to do from here, can I access those? Yes, I can. Good. I want to sort of make this go around here and feed back this way. Now I have an iron farm, so hoppers are easy for me to make. I have tons and tons and tons of iron ingots. If you don't have so many iron ingots, you can, of course, make a much smaller. You don't have to have an elaborate setup like this. You can just work with what the environment gives you. But I'm going to manipulate the space a bit more. Anyway, what I want to do now is I'm going to cut a turn this way. Same thing we just did. Easy enough. There we go. And we're not going to need all of this space because we want this thing to be out a little bit. Something like that. We'll get the exact dimensions once we actually start building the sorter, then we'll connect them up. But we know we're going to need at least this much for the pipeline. I like how it kind of goes out and then hugs the wall. I might even stick some slab under it to make it look like it's kind of held in place by a structure. We'll deal with aesthetics later. Always build your core machine build and then go around it with your more aesthetic or structural details. Alright, so there we go. That's looking good. Now what we want to do is actually start on the sorters. This is the fun part. This is sort of the point, I guess, of this tutorial. Although I wanted to show you how to attach to a pre-made system, a pre-existing system. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to install the different sorters. We're going to need 2 for our 2 item types, plus 1 for miscellaneous. So this is going to be a 2-part sorter with an extra chest at the end. So here's what this is going to look like. Let's see. Just thinking about how far I can put this out. Yeah, that should work nicely. Okay, I'm just gauging space here a little bit. I am testing out my dimensions and seeing what I have to work with. Yeah, that should work fine. This is the basic shape that you saw before, that you saw earlier, right? This is what we're going to need. But for now, I just want to build this front part. We'll build that back part later. What we're gonna do, I guess we'll do this one step at a time. I have a faster way that I would do it if I were just building this, but I'm also doing a tutorial, so I want to be clear and I want to really show you how this is done if this is your first time doing it, because I guess that's why you're watching my tutorial. Okay, so we've got 3. We don't actually need a 4th. And actually, the truth is, we don't need this 3rd one because it's not going to function as a sorter. We're going to put it there just to make it uniform and nice looking. Alright, the next thing we need are redstone repeaters. Now, you're going to need 1 redstone repeater per item sorted. Pretty easy. So, what we want to do is go back along the backs of these structures that we've built. You've got a good look at them. We want to place 1 here and 1 here. Face that arrow, its direction, towards that block in the front. See that? See how those 3 blocks there? You stick it on top of that one at the bottom and face it towards the front, just like that. Okay? Easy so far, right? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to throw our comparators on. That's easy to do too, but it requires a little bit more finesse. What you want to do is kind of get out right in front of it, okay? Or if you have vertical space to do it, and we do, right on top and face back this way, so that the comparator, you see how it's sort of a triangular arrow formation, so that it's facing back towards the rest of the machine, just like that. Kind of the opposite direction, right, from the repeater down below, just like that. If you don't have room to hop up here, you just stand here and place it from here, and it'll place in that orientation, okay, in that direction. Our next step is that we need, and by the way, 2 comparators that matches up with the items. And finally, well, semi-finally, we're going to have 2 redstone torches, just like that. And they go on the front end of the block that repeater's feeding into, 2 blocks down below the comparator. See how that looks? All right. Don't click any of these to change the settings. Keep them, the comparator and the repeater, on their original settings. All right. From there, the last thing we need to do is we're going to run a row right here, so that it kind of makes like a weird P shape almost. See that shape? And I'm going to put a block there just so I can hop up there. And what we're going to do here is take some redstone dust. For an average size sorter, or average small like this one, we only need like 10 or 12 redstone dust. We can count actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we actually don't even need that last one. That's all we need right there, 8. So I guess it comes out to about an average of 4 or 5 per item sorted, if you're wanting to figure out your inventory for that. All right, we're almost there. Our next step is the hoppers. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed a hopper in like this towards the comparator. Notice that a comparator has an item frame around it, so that you can actually build against it if you crouch. Now you have to crouch to do this, because if you don't, you'll actually set this to its other setting. We don't want to do that. Notice how that hopper looks like it feeds into that comparator. It's kind of floating. If it looks like that, then you've got it right. Our next step is to go ahead and throw some our chest in. I'm just going to place a line of dirt just to place those chests against. I'm going to put 3 double chests, just like that. Smash out the dirt. Excuse me. Allergies are hitting me lately. And there we go. See how that looks? And pretty much we have one more step and our item sorter will function. The final thing we want to do, besides hooking this up to the bigger system, is we want to take a hopper, go directly under each hopper we already have, except this one faces in the opposite direction and it feeds into the chest. But it has to be directly below the other hopper, just like that. See how that looks? Take a good look at that right there. Okay. Now, here, let's give ourselves a little bit of light up here for now. Now there's still the unfinished business of tying in our hopper pipeline to the larger system. Now, I just thought about it. There's a more efficient way that we could have run this, I suppose. We could have actually gone this way and connected it up a bit more efficiently. But I'm happy enough with it as it is. It'll work great. And we've already done as much as we've done. So what I want to do is I want to take this and I want to turn it right here so that it's directly above these hoppers right here. But first, I actually want to bring this down, which will be easy enough to do. Okay, so let's just go right, I don't know, right here should be fine. We'll break you out right there, break you out, and we'll just go up with that, drop back down below, and just go like that. See how I can crouch and place that right into the top? Those feed straight down. I'm sure if you've worked with hoppers at all, you've probably done that sort of configuration. Always check your hoppers when you're breaking stuff around it. You might suck in some dirt or something. Alright, now I want this one to actually be one above that. So we're right there. Actually went one too far. It happens. Let's fix it. All we have to do. But we do want that one facing down. And now just build that way. See how that just drops down one level? That's perfect. Okay. You just work with it, play with it. The way you situate this might be totally different on your build. So. But this is an example of many. Now what I want to do, glad I have the ceiling space to work with, that's nice. I want to just, yeah. Let's first start by going here. Let's place one there. This next one. See that? We'll get to that in a moment. This next one's going to turn and go right here. So I'm just going to go like that. Yeah, perfect. One thing about hoppers, they actively pull things down. So there's hardly any to no chance that I would have caught that before the hopper did. Hoppers can even pull things through slabs. Okay, see how that looks? Now all I want to do is make this just go straight over. This is the part that sort of threw me off the first time I built one of these. The tutorial I watched on it years ago when I first learned this build didn't really explain what I'm about to explain to you, so I'll show you how this works. So what you probably know about hoppers normally, what we all know just by looking at them, is that they'll feed in the direction that little bottom nozzle is facing. So it looks like, looking at this, that these aren't connected, but actually this feeds down into that hopper as well, since it has an open hopper below it. I know that's strange. I know that might not seem to make sense looking at it, but that is how it works. Okay, and then actually, this last one is just going to feed down just like a normal hopper. And what we're going to do is just like that. And we'll feed straight into that chest, because this one is not a sorter, it's just a regular chest on the end. Okay, and you always want to include that. We'll get into why that is in just a moment. Okay, there's our build. Okay, now, that's the actual construction part of the build, but there's one more thing we need to do before we get into options. But let's finish the core build first. The next thing we need to do is we want to get about 32. It's going to take a little less than that. It's actually going to take 23 of each item type that we're wanting to sort. So the other item type, if you recall, is up here. 31's fine. We'll take 32 and keep it uniform. Hold on one moment, my friends. My cat wants to come into the room with me. Come on, buddy. If you're one of my fans, one of my subscribers, you've probably met Mr. Gray before. He's my little buddy. He's a really good cat. Alright. Oh, wrong sorter. Let's run back this way. Hey, buddy, how you doing? He's my Minecraft buddy. Alright, so check that out. Looking pretty good, huh? Now, what we need to do next, you want to pay close attention here because doing this right is important. Although if you mess up, it's easily reversible. It's no problem. What you want to do, in either order, but it needs to be one of these two for each item. See that middle? I guess out of the sorter, it is the topmost. It's the one. Let's put a little temporary step there. It's the hopper that feeds into the comparator. That hopper. We want to open that up, okay? And we want to put 22 of that item in there. No worries. If we go over 22, it will only pass down whatever's left, so it will always hold exactly 22. Let me show you how that works. So notice that so far we have 8, right? Or 10, right? 2 times 5. Notice that this is lit up now. That's the comparator sending a signal out, and it is stopping, ultimately, those items from going through, from continuing, from dropping on down into that chest, or into this hopper for that matter. Let's continue. Notice what happens when we get to this last wave. Notice that after we do this pass, it will drop down. See that? And we have 22. 5 times 4 is 20 plus 2, 22, right? Now what I like to do is kind of distribute these somewhat evenly so that there's something like that. You can do them however you'd like. The key is, my friends, that all of these slots need to be taken up. Don't leave one blank, because if you do, like that, for example, then other items can get into this hopper. You need it completely spammed up with the type of item that you're sorting for. This will be the seed chest. This next one, by default, then will, by elimination, will be our wheat chest. Okay, I'm going to show you another method for placing these. I like to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, another 4, and then finally 6. Okay, then I'll take the other 10, throw them in, watch what happens. It'll immediately drop down. Notice, by the way, that if we look in here, I like that because it's very well evenly distributed. Notice that if we look right here, there's 1 here. There will always be 22 here and 1 here. So you need a total of 23 items to get your sorter started. If you can't remember that number, just think Michael Jordan. That's my mnemonic device for that. Alright? And this last one requires nothing. It just handles whatever miscellaneous items might get into the system. Alright, there it is. There's the core build. Now, once you've done this, you've got it. You're ready to rock. You are ready to go. But there's one more thing that I like to add to my systems. This is not absolutely necessary, but it's nice. That is a huge farm up above. It's going to collect a lot of stuff, right? A lot of items. I want to go ahead and add one extra layer of collection. And I'll do it for all 3 just to make it symmetrical. And I'm going to put this hopper so it is not in front of that redstone torch. I want it askew to that, just like that, and feeding down into that chest. Notice that already it's taken the excess and dropped it on down. Okay. Alright, my friend, you ready to see this thing work? Here, let's go ahead and put a regular block there. So we can just get access to that. Yeah. Just double checking everything. Again, we can make it more aesthetically pleasing. In fact, you know what? Let's go ahead and do that. I'll show you my build for these babies. What I actually like to do, and for this one we could give ourselves a little walk space, but I'm happy enough to be able to get around the other side. I actually like to take a little bit of slab and make it look kind of like a shelf runs right there. Oh, I'm out of slab. I'll have to get another piece in a moment. See how that looks. Now what we can then do is take an item frame. You could actually crouch and hang it in front of the hopper if you wanted to conceal the hopper. But I kind of like that machinery to be there a little. And what I can do, grab a seed. Now I'm showing that that is the seed chest. And that's the wheat chest. See, isn't that nice? Yeah. And then later we'll pop in that slab and we can just put whatever symbol we want to put for miscellaneous. We don't even have to put anything on it, and that can mark it as miscellaneous. See how that looks? And then that also lets us maybe pop torches there. Now we have a little, you know, a little system. It looks pretty good, right? Here. Let's play with it for a second. There we go. When we go up above to activate the system to test it out, we can use that crafting table up there. Make us a few more slabs. That should be more than enough to finish it out. Alright. Now, I don't want to kill my bees by washing them down into the water, so I normally only run this at night. But I find that they're pretty resilient against the water. Water does hurt bees, but I think they'll be okay. Let's test that out and see what happens. So this is an automated system that works on a signal loop so that it washes the material in, and then it's on a timer so that it shuts down after about 5 or 6 seconds of harvesting, if that. Yeah, there we go. And I actually made it so that it would leave behind some seed, so it's easier for me to replant. Now there of course is a way to put farmers and villagers out here and to build one of these where they replant it. And I've actually done tutorials on those in the past. But I kind of like this one old school. I'm happy enough to replant it for now. And that way I have some seed to plant with. But for now, we're not concerned about that. I went the wrong way. For now, we want to see if this thing is sorting. Look at that, my friends. Now, you might notice that the wheat's not collecting up yet. The reason is because it sorts only one item type at a time, right? So once that seed sorts out and goes in here, then the wheat will bypass and start collecting on its own step. That's how that works. Okay. Because it's all a linear system. But it'll do its thing, you know, slowly but surely. And now, having to sort out and separate these things is a thing of the past. Now, here's that last part. Here's why we have a miscellaneous chest at the end. What if, you know, I'm up here farming or doing something. Maybe I even pop this button to get some honeycomb. Put shears in a dispenser, face it towards the hive, and you can get some honeycomb, right? And that honeycomb might have popped out and it might have fallen in there. Let's make that happen. Goes into the hopper. Well, if all we had were these two chests that only take these two item types, then that honeycomb would pretty much get spammed up in these hoppers and it would never get out. So what you want to do is at the end you kind of build what you might think of as a junk release valve. It's not there yet for the same reason we haven't gotten to the wheat yet. But eventually what's going to happen is this will have seed, this will have wheat, and this will have those 3 pieces of honeycomb left over at the end. Sometimes you're walking around and swapping out your inventory kind of like I did earlier, and you drop an item like I dropped my axe earlier. Was that on this video? I can't remember, but I know it happened to me. It happens to us all. You might mean to put it into that square there and you slip and toss it out, or maybe you've got it in your hand, you hit, this happens a lot, you hit your inventory earlier and there goes your efficiency 4 pick. Right, well, what if we were doing that when we were standing over this? Well, no worries, my friends, because it would go to that 3rd chest. All we would have to do would be go retrieve it. So this is pretty much a foolproof little system. We're going to hang out and do some more aesthetics to it before we close out the video, and so we can see the whole thing work. And if it doesn't work, we can assess the issue, but it should work fine. Give it a little structure there. Of course, you got to build up above a little bit, give it some room for the chest to open. Yeah. And what I use for my miscellaneous marker, as you may have noticed in the other sorter, I put a torch. It seems like torches fall into things a lot. Oh, look at that. It went ahead and took care of the honeycomb first. And now the wheat is collecting. Isn't that nice? See how that works. Like I said earlier, you can kind of play with, you know, putting a little slab under that. Maybe even, you know, let's go get a little more slab. Just before we finish this. See it through to the end, right? My little bee buddies. I like the bees, man, they're cute. Yeah, got a crouch place for these. And yeah, just kind of do that to conceal it. We could do other things too if we really wanted to. We could put slabs there, or maybe even inverted staircase, but I kind of like some of the machinery to show. I'm happy with that. Yeah, look at that. That looks kind of cool. Right, nothing super fancy, but you know, looks like a little factory. Alright, I mentioned that we could tidy this up a bit. Why not? There we go. Now that looks right. Give us a little more light in that corner. And we've got it, my friends. That right there is a first-class item sorter. That's how that works. Now if we quickly revisit our other one, you can see how this is simply a more elaborate, bigger version of the same thing. And it works like a charm. While we're here, just to, if you haven't seen my video on that sheep farm, it's worth looking at because it's quite lucrative. it's worth noting that I've only been collecting this particular batch of wool that you see here for about an hour, maybe 2 hours. This has not been collecting for that long. So the output of this thing is enormous, which is why I built it 3 layers down. Right. Okay, well, there's a few errant bees who want to hang out down here. I find that they get stuck on that fence right there for some reason. So I'll probably make some mechanism to keep them up here. I'll figure that out later, of course. Well, my friends, that's that. That's an item sorter for you. So if you enjoyed this video, if it helped you out, or you just had fun watching it and hanging out with me, first of all, I appreciate it. Second of all, feel free to give me a like. And third, if you haven't done so already and you want to keep up with all my new videos, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and I'll have more good stuff headed your way. This has been Minecraft Bob Ross. I wish you the very best, and as always, my friends, until next time, I wish you happy Minecrafting. Goodbye.